Hey, we are back here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for joining us back here at the Arcane Archive. That's right. Today we're going to be hitting y'all with another incredible, amazing installment of the Cautionary Chronicles. We've got an amazing little assortment and lineup of stories for you today that we think will be both thought-provoking, entertaining, and, well, quite frankly, just all around maybe some cringe-inducing, because that is obviously the main ingredient that we look for in all of these stories in one form or another, whether it be painful cringe, whether it be a funny cringe or hating cringe. You know, cringe is cringe, kind of no matter how you swing it. And that's what we do here for you guys. You know, we sacrifice our mental health and well-being as well as almost to a physical degree, because our spines literally I don't know about you, Sammy, but mine certainly has actually physically twisted and turned from some of these absurd tales that we have had on the channel up to this point.
Yeah, if my back didn't hurt already, it certainly does after these. So
yep, or you know what? Maybe it'll get better, because maybe if you like twist, you'll pop out. You know, there's some spots that you need.
Maybe it'll move things back.
Maybe it'll inadvertently be healthy for us. You know, well,
yeah,
that's it, right? Because as they say, you know, poison and medicine are really like two sides of the same coin.
I mean,
right?
you know, it's like when I get hit by a car while riding my bike. They knock the chain back into place.
Exactly.
You know? There's always positives, I guess.
Absolutely. That's what we try to do here. We try to look for the reasonable positives of these things. So you know what? That being the case, let's go ahead and get started pretty soon. As always, my friends, please be sure to like and comment down the video. If you haven't, you know, subscribe and share the channel. It just helps us out a ton. We really appreciate that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just dive right on in. Sammy, if you'd like to take it away for the first story of the day.
Sure. We have a little bit of a different kind of story. This is from second person view, basically OP talking to one of the players / characters in question, game, which I thought was written quite well, and I very much enjoyed.
I'm a fan. I skimmed through it. I'm kind of a fan.
If you don't invest in the world will not invest in you. Your character is an artificer, something you begged for despite me initially saying it did not fit in the lore. You are one of a handful of artificers in existence, and you have many opportunities to challenge the current elitist grip over arcane magic learning. Your character is not a wizard. Your character cannot learn to scribe spells if he rolls high enough. Your character cannot make rare items if he rolls high enough. Your character will be treated as an untrained hedge mage until you put in effort to bettering your reputation. I don't know why you didn't just play a wizard, honestly. Your character grew up in a devout empire. If you want to play a fantasy atheist, the natural response to that will be assuming your character is foolish, arrogant, delusional, or a traitor. Stop trying to rewrite the world lore to say your hometown doesn't care that much. I told you from the beginning they have shrines and follow the same customs. There is a gulf between relaxed about the use of arcane magic and casually blasphemous. Like, the gods are an incredibly important presence in the world, especially for the country you chose your character to be from. Just off the top here, like, I like this because
pause.
Yes, it is a little bit petty, it is a little bit targeted, but you can tell that all of these things,
literally,
all of these things were told to this person ahead of time, and they chose to ignore it for the sake of making the character that they wanted to make. Which I understand the want, I get it. At the same time, you have to, if you're gonna play in a world, you have to pay attention to what's going on in it, and I think that's a reasonable ask.
I mean, well, not even just that. I mean, that should be the expectation. Where again, you are being brought into this Overgod's world, right? Like, again, I'll say it again. I've done it before. I'll do it again. I believe like the best depiction, almost of like a D&D campaign in the world, is like, we are all the players in the GM, we are all overgods, right? The players are all fellow overgods visiting this overgod's world to then project their avatars down inside of it to then behave and manage or whatever, however I want to act and behave in there. Now, for this, it's like you have to respect and honor the rules, the history, whatever of that Overgod's world. This is their world.
At least try.
We don't have the power to control it. It's their world. And so that being the case, if you're going to partake in it, you have to be able to respect
What's going on?
the rules in place established. That along with the fact that I also just I never understand. I will never be able to understand how any person who plays a regular, regular game of D&D with the expectations, being at least normal, that you're gonna try and play an atheist character.
We've talked about this before.
We have talked about like
you can play a character who's not invested in the gods.
Yeah, you can be like, outright, I don't really care about them, but you can't not believe in them or basically be like, oh hey, or you know what? To be fair, hang on a minute. Let's judging from what the OP themselves wrote. To be fair, the player in question did say, like, specifically, or at least from what the OPS said, they said, stop trying to rewrite the world lore to say your hometown doesn't care that much. So it's like, okay, here's the thing. I don't know why he's trying to say his hometown doesn't care that much.
Yeah, he might not.
Instead of just saying, like, he can say he doesn't care that much. It's, again, though, because his hometown apparently was particularly devout and devoted to the gods in that way, which is like, okay, that's fine. You could absolutely, it could be a very interesting character, like, dynamic to basically be like, you are one, even though you grew up in an environment where people were very religious and devout and such, you invested more of your belief in the arcane and even in, like, contraptions, machinery, whatever. It's like, that could be
anything else.
That could be super interesting and whatever. But
yeah, you're an outcast though.
You would be an outcast. You would be, like, definitely out of the ordinary, which is fine. You're an adventurer. All adventurers usually are. Point being, though, you can't be an atheist, though. You can't basically be like, yeah, the gods don't matter. The gods don't exist. The gods don't do anything. It's like they literally do.
It's like kind of it's kind of there. Like, the whole time.
It's literally, they are, like, if you interact with any cleric, if you interact with a paladin, if you interact, sometimes even with druids and such, even sometimes bards, you will usually have someone who has a direct connection to that deity. Like, you cannot literally be a person who rejects the idea of divinity and gods when they are literally active. They are as real and maybe not as present per se, but they could be as present as the person standing right next to you. Like, they're not just abstract concepts, thoughts, or interpretations or whatever. They are actual beings and creatures that exist and have thoughts, goals, feelings, objectives, ambition, whatever. Like, this is a thing.
It's very immature in my opinion. I get it. Like, I'm an atheist. Okay,
yeah,
I get
we've talked about this before.
I love the fact that it's an unabashed worship of something that has direct impact, and it's a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's there, you can see it, you can tell. It's not. It's
corporeal. Yeah, it's corporeal.
It's
not a fantasy. Again, it's not an abstract concept. No. It is a concrete, literal
or something. I don't know what the fucking word I'm looking for is, but yeah, it's weird. But let's continue, because you're gonna see a theme here. Your character has a poor reputation among the wizards because at the literal first opportunity he had, he broke into a wizard's private sanctum and stole sensitive information, which he then leaked publicly. Nope. No, he does not have to forgive you eventually. No, you cannot pay off the wizard to forgive you. This is not a video game. Your character has a poor reputation with that foreign country because you murdered the king's brother in front of the king. I asked you twice if you wanted to do lethal magical damage, and you said yes. I do not know why you are surprised Pikachu face about this when it comes up that you are the face of foreign tyranny in their propaganda. But he was working with the BBEG. Does not mean that the king has to accept you invading his homeland and murdering a member of the royal family.
It depends.
It's about how it
depends on how if they're able to prove that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's also, there's also the fact that you don't just get to murder somebody
in cold blood
in another country
in front of all of the dignitaries.
They might have a different
nobility.
Well, they might have a different way of dispensing justice. The king might have agreed that they worked with the
Well, I
evil
was gonna
guy,
say, if
but
it
they
was
wanted
in
to.
self-defense,
But they
that
probably
would be
wanted
a
to
different
prosecute the
scenario.
crime, and you had a chance to non-lethally subdue, and you decided to murder. So
That's
that's
another
your
thing too.
choice.
If you didn't want to
Um,
non-lethally, which,
yeah,
to be fair though, magic damage usually isn't non-lethal.
but if they're
But
given the
I
option,
still love the GM for doing that though. I
I think
absolutely would love to be able
there
to
are
non-lethally do magic damage,
there
and I
are
appreciate
100%
that.
there are 100% ways to use magic non-lethally. We've talked
I
about that before.
agree. Yes.
Um,
Continue, please.
your character has constantly blown off his uncle being a political prisoner for months of in-game time. Months. All the party know about the guy. All the party know about the
Know
guy is
about
that
the guy.
is that he was abusive to your character. They're not going to be in a rush to save him. It's on you to push that as a priority if you want it resolved. Great. Your character's childhood friend has noticed he only calls her up to ask for something, trauma dump, and leave. Yes, she wants an apology before she helps him next time. No, blubbering on the ground about how you are the worst person ever is not an apology. In parentheses, please stop reminding me of my ex. Close parentheses.
Oof.
Your
Oof.
your character is not nice.
Oh no.
He's a sycophant to people in power and an asshole to anyone you think is a morally acceptable target. I actually don't care if he isn't nice, but stop claiming he is. Your character doesn't get as much plot focus because plot focus requires push and pull. It is my responsibility to provide plot hooks. If you don't bite, there's really not much I can do nor want to do. The reason the other player got a touching and triumphant moment was because they had built up to it for
Over
over
months.
months. If you are not willing to bite down on a hook or challenge your character to change or grow, they will not change or grow, and they will not have plot relevance. All of the above would honestly not matter that much to me if you were just the sort of player who didn't engage that much in the story. Your good time is obviously enrolling big number for big explosion, and I do my best to facilitate that. But you cannot have it go both ways. You cannot play an arrogant jerk and then be surprised when people go, wow, what an arrogant jerk. You cannot ignore plot hooks and then be surprised when no plot happens. You cannot expect the world to invest in you if you will not invest in it.
Bam!
That was poetic. I love
Beautifully
that.
written, OP. Thank you so much. Specifically,
I
a Tupperware lid. Thank you so much.
that was really and this makes me this story like kind of as a whole connotation does make me a little bit sad. The OP in the comments while talking to other people, posted a couple of different things and some more information. To answer the obvious question, this player is an IRL friend. They are a timely, respectful, polite player, and mechanically at least they are committed to helping the team. The above is frustrating as a DM who is trying really hard to build a world that is cohesive, but it isn't a deal breaker at present. But also, God, it drives me nuts and I needed to bitch. I swear, it's like Sideshow Bob constantly walking into rakes with this player. Stop walking into the rakes. You have the power. Um, I I love this because it's not, this isn't like this isn't like completely unsavable. The person
No, I mean, it
obviously
sounds
like it sounds like they're at least invested in what's going on the table because they're complaining about things not happening. They might not
for
understand
them, yeah.
they might not understand that their actions are the exact reason why it's going the way that it's going. In all honesty, this is a pretty respectful, albeit a bit, you know, it's poignant, way to kind of release that frustration and be honest. If I was playing in a game and if I was doing things that really bothered a DM or, made decisions like this and a DM basically wrote all this out and sent it to me, would I be hurt? Yes. Would it help you see maybe the problems that you are causing? Also, yes. I think this is a pretty damn respectful way to do things considering some of the other stories and ways people have interacted that we've read just on this
Yeah.
show. I really liked this though. The kind of like second person viewpoint, the
I was
way
gonna
that it's
say,
almost like
I am a huge
it's
fan of that
fleeting.
format. Like that
Yeah,
format.
that was
I don't
insane.
not only obviously just from reading these stories. Like, is it just a refreshing take?
It's a very well written thing
to
too.
see it. Like, yeah, they wrote it very well, very nicely. It was also like, and through all of this, it is still like, they give actual literal examples without even describing them like in detail like that, right? Like it's literally just they project and showcase the issues and problems by literally just saying like, no, you cannot do this thing, and just because you feel like this is not how that works, and obviously do put it into parentheses to further emphasize that this is like most likely, at the very least, implying that this is most likely the words that the offender in question has said themselves, to basically be like, this is an actual conversation that they have maybe had. Probably not, but, or at least not quite like this, but still, like, it is literally like, I can absolutely picture this as being like an internal rant and like a thing that you have with yourself, where you're just like so angry and frustrated, like after the session, you get off, you're like, oh my God, no, you cannot do this. Not because I've done that shit all the time before too, where I talk to myself all the time. What can you say? It's cathartic. And I think in this particular thing, it also comes across just very well and very nicely. And it's very refreshing for sure. And like Sam said, even with like a lot of their comments and such here, where they're kind of talking about it. Like one of the comments is asking, like, are they aware they're doing this sort of stuff? Like, I didn't realize how annoying I was being in game, for instance, until I started listening to like a recording and taking some notes, which is an interesting thing to do too. Because I think, it can be true. I think sometimes people don't fully entirely like hear or recognize maybe what they're saying or what they are doing. And when people kind of call them on it, they're like, wait, what? I didn't do that, or I didn't say it like that, or whatever. And then when you kind of listen back to it, you're kind of, because a lot of time people can also get maybe a little bit too wrapped up in their character, right? They have an idea for a character, for whether they should behave. And we've talked about this before, where they get sucked into it. And they kind of just start doing that character. It's like, oh, this is how this character is. And they want to get really immersed. And immersion is good. But you also have to be able to be self-aware enough and conscious enough to realize that that immersion is being detrimental, harmful, or even toxic to the rest of the people, maybe even yourself. But the OP responds and says, like, for some of it, especially when the behavior was disruptive to other players, they're very receptive. Okay, that's great. We love that. We take that. For RP related feedback, however, they will listen attentively and then implement none of it. I think they're trying their best, but if I had to sum it up in one sentence, they treat D&D like a video game. And that's definitely what it sounded like from the post. E.g., even though I did bad action, I can still get positive action points back elsewhere, so it doesn't matter. The ball's in their court at the moment. And FWIW, I have communicated that in a much more productive way than this post. That's great. That's awesome. And I will definitely say, like, yeah, I think that is a issue or problem for a lot of like newer people to Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I don't know how new this person would be, but it definitely is a issue when you come to this type of game with a video game mentality. Because it is just like, oh, you can do whatever you want. You can, kill, murder, whatever. And like, but if you just do the right things at the right moments, you instantly get the faction points that increase your affinity with them. So it doesn't matter. Just like literally here, where it's like, that's not really how D&D works. Now, I am also of a mind that's like, your actions should have consequences for sure. But that goes both ways too. I definitely do agree, absolutely, that if you do good things in the world, or if you do constructive or helpful or whatever, that should also start to reflect. I think we talked a little about that before too, where your good actions should spread and your reputation should increase positively because of that. You shouldn't just become infamous for bad things, but you should become famous for good things. And those good things should hopefully be able to reflect well on you and give you access to things or discounts maybe on certain things, just whatever. If you've done some favors, if you've done good, it's like that should have an effect for sure. But there is a difference between being like, I'm going to do this thing without really thinking about it, and it's fine because I'll just, I'll get back the points that I lost doing the good things. And it's like, that's not really how people work, and again, D&D is at its best usually in the middle point between fantasy and reality. And in reality, the beings and creatures and people of this world, if you slight them in a way that they perceive to be bad, just because you might do something good doesn't automatically mean that they'll forget or forgive the previous issue. But suffice it to say, this is a great post. Love the writing and format for it. I'm very interested in an update at any point if there is, because it seems like they're saying, like, the ball's in their court. So maybe we'll see what happens. We'll check back maybe next week and see if there's any kind of update. But for now, unless you got anything else to say, Sammy, about this post?
I think that was good.
let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, this is titled, But You're a Barbarian. You're not supposed to play smart, by InShields99. Hello, Reddit. It seems like yet again I'm gonna have to play my character somewhere else. Uh-oh. We got a returner here, I guess. Sorry about that, man. I joined a server about this time last year where I played a barbarian from levels 5 to 9. Okay, all right, how about that? I had a great time. The server itself was deleted due to some internal arguments between one lass, whom I will just refer to as DM, and the server owner. Uh-oh. I got an invite to a new server now run by DM only a month ago. The rules completely changed, and I had to restart at level 3 and resituate myself. Ah, no, that's the worst. You get up to you get up to 9, and then you get bumped down 6 levels back to 3. I don't know, bro. Not too big of a deal, or so I thought. Hey, I don't know, man. The new DM starts making some rulings that are irritating at best and adversarial at worst. I roll a nat 1 on medicine to stabilize a fallen ally. DM promptly says I added 2 failed death saves and killed my buddy. Boo! Throw the popcorn at me. I want to start crafting a moon touch sword. DM promptly rules that it doesn't inflict magical damage and is therefore useless. This can be interpreted strictly rules as written, but runs contrary to how 99.99% of DMs would rule it. In fact, Avrai and D&D Beyond both register the damage as magical. I mean, if it successfully...
It's part of the weapon, yeah.
If it successfully is able to, elicit glowing light,
yeah,
it's magical! How else would it be able to do that? No one else is casting a spell on it. It's doing it itself. Oh, good Lord. But the bad rulings don't come anywhere close to the idiocy of how this DM and several members of her server respond to tactical play in combat. Oh, buddy. When I'm put up against a pack of velociraptors, which have pack tactics, I elect to hang back and chuck javelins and hand axes at them. Smart. I respect
really
that.
Smart.
Yeah, I like that. That's a lot. Monk teammate doesn't get the memo and gets swarmed. As you do.
Sounds like a
hey,
monk.
hey! As long as he's a drunken fist master, drunken master, right?
Yeah.
He can hit multiple. There you go. Yeah, no, it should be good, right? He survives, but gets royally pissed at me for not just raging and recklessly attacking. To be fair, I mean, you are a barbarian.
Yeah, but you don't. They're not pigeonholed into one thing.
No, they are not, and they can. It's like, hey, he survives because each of them are doing about 9 damage in a round. So I'd be downed in about 2 rounds. I mean, I don't know about that. Like, how many of them? I don't think he says exactly how many are there, but a pack might be at least 3, I'm thinking, if not more, obviously.
And if they all have advantage, and some of them crit,
yeah,
if
they all have advantage.
He probably has pretty low AC because barbarians don't start with high AC.
I mean, if their dex and con are high enough, they can actually get a decent amount. But I mean, he definitely has the most health. Obviously, with raging, it basically doubles that because he would half that damage. So I mean, I don't think he'd be downed in 2 rounds, but it's definitely not. It's
That's
definitely
also not. It's not the only.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to just run in there. Like, again,
yeah.
Until they get up to you, then you can rage. But it makes complete sense to be like, you know what? Why would I run to them when I can just zone them for a round or 2 until they get up to me, and then we can engage in physical combat.
There's another reason for that. The way that they run their combat is flawed.
Yep. All right, let's continue on. When I'm put up against a flail snail, which stuns and makes 5 attacks around, those things can be way nasty. I get out of melee and try kiting the creature. This time, Sword Bard, DM's character, wants to stay in melee so bad, she literally says, I'm built for melee. Where else am I supposed to be? You're a board!
Yeah, Swords Bards are not full melee, they're midliners.
This is the incident where the medicine check came up. When I, at level 4, am put up against a chasm, or chasme, however you want to pronounce it, which I kid you not, just one-shots me. I mean, they can be bad, but again, okay, you're level 4 is what he says. Yeah, no, a chasm or Kazme at level 4.
That's
I
rough.
elect to take the dodge action on 2 different turns.
Oh.
Cleric and DM gets pissed at me, and DM elects to attack me despite dodging. Unlucky hit, unlucky one shot. I would have let it go. But DM goes, yeah, how did that work out for you? And I decide enough is enough. An argument unfold. I mean, that's fair. She poked Bear even more. So it's like literally he took a dodge action to try to not die and yet still got hit.
Yeah.
And then died for one shot. So it's like his instincts and therefore decision was not incorrect. Like you just proved his point for him. That
Yeah,
like
literally, yeah.
Even I would assume, at least I would certainly hope that he raged. And if he's raging, if that would have been at half damage, at least for most of it.
I'm going to say that if he's talking about tactics like this, then he knows that he's supposed to rage.
I would assume so as well. And that being the case, if it even literally knocked him one shot at level 4 raging, like...
Then you don't know how to balance an encounter.
Then you don't know how to balance an encounter for one, as well as the fact that, again, it just proves his point. That if he had just run up and just swung at it, to be fair, you know, it's like one could also surmise that it, depending on, again, how high the creature's, you know, modifier is to hit.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to get one tapped anyway, you might as well just deal some damage before you go down. Like it's that's you know,
you have no way of actually knowing that unless you're metagaming. So
yeah, well, I mean, you know, you can tell though it's a demon. Demons are usually things you don't want to screw with or get screwed by. And point being is, as a barbarian, you know, it's like he's got battle tactics and battle aware. Hell, we could even say his fine-tuned survival instincts are telling him like, okay, hey, you know, like this thing is dangerous and could potentially like kill us because it's incredibly unnatural. So that being the case, again, it's like you might as well like just maybe deal some damage before you go down to help the rest of the party. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with at least maybe trying to take the dodge action, you know, to not get hit, to ward off the chances of dying sooner, because you could then technically still try and at least distract it, right? Where you're just like, hey, as the barbarian, you have the highest chance of surviving, most likely because of rage, and you have the highest hit dice, probably the highest health. So that being the case, you get in there, you know, you wave in its face, you're like, hey, over here, and you take the dodge action to, again, aggro, so that you lower the chance of getting hit. But if you do get hit, you have the highest chance of surviving. Unfortunately, he didn't. So didn't matter, to be fair. And maybe he didn't think that he would get one shot. Maybe that's another reason too. Maybe the reason why he didn't just keep attacking it was because he didn't necessarily think that even if he did get hit, it would just one shot him. Because obviously then I assume he probably would have been like, yeah, I might just attack it. Or maybe he's more focused on surviving.
No.
I guess that's fair too. But anyways, let's continue. An argument unfolds. I call her out on adversarial behavior, and she basically argues that because I am doing anything smarter than just throwing myself at the enemy, I'm a liability to my teammates. I'm a selfish jerk and altogether a coward. The spirit of this server clearly left the first time around, and I'm a little disgusted to have invested the time I did in a meat grinder. Yeah. But the horrendous attitude towards more defensive playstyles is just downright loathsome. I agree. DMs, we recognize that frontliner is a role often discussed and deemed mandatory to party compositions. This server ran combat in Theater of the Mind where every player was 30 feet from the enemy, so formation was wildly disregarded anyways.
Yeah, so this is again, this is why I made the comment before.
Holy effing shit, dude.
Wow. Yeah, that's why I said, like, you can't really make informed combat decisions in a game like that, which is why I do.
I mean, it can be harder. You can. If the GM is able to describe the environment to an actually decent extent, but I have very low expectations that the GM is able to accurately do so.
Every turn you start 30 feet away. Like, I can't play at a table like that. I won't.
Yeah.
You know, I won't. If it's one encounter, that's one thing. But if that's all your combat, there's no point in playing tactically.
No.
I'm just not going to play.
No. Whether this is for the aesthetic of hardcore melee or taking one for the team, your marshals or melee equivalents are not contractually obligated to deliberately expose themselves to danger. They are a part of the team and need to manage their resources too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. I think that was beautifully said, and I respect that. I really hope it's just common sense that dodging and kiting are legitimate and valid strategies in gameplay. Thoughts in post. I mean, yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm not going to also sit here and say, we don't have enough context to say for certain, but it's possible that maybe OP made some tactical errors or bad calls here or there, potentially, maybe and again, in lieu of wanting to survive or whatever. Like, because I know, there are a lot of examples and situations where there have been people who like don't engage in combat at all because they're scared of their character dying. Right? They are being cowardly and being like, well, but I don't want my character to get hit or get hurt or die. And it's like, well,
Yeah,
you probably shouldn't be an adventurer then. But here, it's like I don't get the vibe that OP necessarily
no, to me, if you're gonna start talking about tactical
is just
stuff,
wussing out. Like,
yeah, it's this table is just not running combat well.
it's like why would he just run into the fray with some like, because again, that like I get, obviously I feel like this falls back a lot on people's expectations or even stereotypes that they place on like characters and classes. Again, like the barbarian. People are always just
100%.
like, when you're a barbarian, yeah, you don't get to fight smart. You just rush in and what I'm like, well,
No,
even if your intelligence is an 8, right? Intelligence, quite frankly, being an 8, realistically, that would probably be like the average, honestly. Even though technically, like commoners are like 10 across the board,
but like
that doesn't really make a lot of sense, honestly.
also
like,
battlefields aren't just about intelligence; it's instinct, it's
that's
awareness.
That's why we call it battlefield or battle intelligence, right? Where it's like if you have done this so much, or even if you're a barbarian who's lived out in the wild, whatever, you have such an intrinsic, intense, powerful survival like instinct that you are able to like recognize shit happening and basically be like, okay, this is the most optimal route of survival or even to take out my enemy. Like that's fine. You can have that. Like you don't have to just be a freaking brainless brute that bashes everything unga bunga style, like just give it a little bit more nuance. Give it a little bit more flair, a little bit more, diversity. So you don't have to be like, I know, but I do know a lot of people do like to just act like utter freaking morons a lot with their characters. They like just, and then even use that as a means of justifying stupid actions or decisions that like negatively affect other people. We're just like, oh, well, my character has an intelligence of, I mean, here's the thing. Again, we've done this before, and I'll say it. I feel like, and I don't want anybody to be like, this is the end all be all, but look at Critical Role, right? Travis Willingham, first freaking campaign they played, right? He played a Goliath barbarian by the name of Grog. Grog had an intelligence, I believe, of 6, maybe even 4. I forget exactly which one. I think it was maybe 6, or maybe it was 4, and then he increased it to 6, maybe. I forget. Either way, Grog was so dumb, apparently, he wasn't able to read. That was like a running gag they had for the longest time. That being the case, though, he was never, ever, at any point, stupid, idiotic, moronic, or a detriment in combat at all. He was always, I think you might be muted, but I can't hear you.
Sorry, there were very specific instances where he like would be fooled by something or maybe didn't make the best decision, but that was few and far between and mostly in fights that were non-consequential.
Yeah, or even it made sense in terms of like somebody deliberately did something to try and take his attention away or manipulate him. Yeah. Which is again different. That was a deliberate thing that they tried to do to manipulate. Whereas Grog, however, he did run in there, but he also was smart enough to use abilities and things and tactics of like moving, like, because that's also how Travis loves to play. Travis loves to play tactically like that too. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that because it made sense. He was a literal warrior. He was part of a barbarian tribe that would pillage, plunder, and destroy and fight all the time, even within their own community. It made perfect sense. It's not illogical. It's not unfair. It's not playing your character correct. It absolutely is completely applicable. And I hate anybody who always tries to restrict a person's, like, again, everybody's just so on the lookout for metagaming. You're metagaming. It's like, metagaming can be annoying. It can be frustrating or even shitty at times. Like, for instance, I hesitate at times to do too much like table talk above, like, during fights a lot of time. Cause it's like, your characters can't necessarily talk a shit ton. I do suffer from, I do like to talk, and like I feel like I'm a believer of like you can maybe talk a couple of seconds during everybody's turn, because you're basically like you're continuously speaking throughout the whole time period, but you can't necessarily like try to strategize complex, maneuvers and everything when it's not even your turn. As well as like, well, one thing I will say though is your characters, hopefully, they know what each other can do at that point if you've been together for a while, and hopefully maybe you could even retroactively say, well, we've talked a bit about this in terms of like battlefield, maneuverability, tactics, support, all that stuff. And it's like I can see that, and I'm fine with that. But it is a thing about basically being like, you can't basically be like, hey, what are you doing? So then I can then do this thing, right? It's like I feel like that might be a little much, a little unfair, where it's just like, unless you're new. If you're new, I'm cool with that. But if people have played for a while, it's like, But anyway, I think we're getting a little off topic here. That being the case, though, it is unfortunate. I do hope that the OP at this point moves on. Like, is this right from jump? If I was able to literally get my character to level 9, and then all of a sudden the GM wanted to be like, you know what, we're changing everything, and you're going to get bumped back down to level 3, I'm pretty sure I'd probably just leave for myself. Like, I couldn't do that. I hate that. I hate regression like that in such an extent. I'm a person that's like, yo, we put in all this time, all this effort, all this work. We got to level freaking 9. That in and of itself is already a feat for a lot of D&D parties. And now you want to take away more levels than I even originally started with? Like, no, absolutely not. Unless you're going to promise to give me a level every session until we get back up to where we were previously. No. Absolutely not. That can go screw right the hell off. I'm not even, bro. Jeez.
Yeah, there's a reason they don't call it.
And then, go ahead, bud.
They don't call it like things aside from like book smarts or math or things like that. That's like intelligence. There's a reason they don't use that word to describe being good at something else. Acumen is a good example. Having business acumen isn't having business intelligence. It's having experience, understanding,
wisdom,
and like good judgments, and able to make these quick decisions.
Instincts. You have great instincts,
and it's not it's not tied to your intelligence. And
no, it's more of like a talent thing. You have talent for this. Yeah. Obviously another huge big thing too. Red flag right out the gate. He tries to do a medicine check to stabilize an ally, and at a nat 1, the GM treats it like he basically attacked him. Yeah. And gives him 2 failed death saves.
I think I'd be more understanding, like, if it was 1 death save, if like you do, because like making a medicine check, it depends on how you as a DM or player like treat medicine checks. If you treat medicine checks as attempting to fix a wound quickly, things can go wrong. You could fuck up and cause more damage. But if you treat a medicine check as just figuring out what's wrong with them, a critical fail would just be, you don't know. But if it's more of like I'm going to attempt to patch him up quickly, then yeah, you can fuck up. But at 2 death saves, that's a little bit harsh.
I mean, again, 2 death saves happens because you are deliberately trying to take them out. That's what a crit is. Like, you only get 2 death saves if you crit. And you automatically crit is if you are deliberately, like, stabbing somebody.
Yeah, also, we've talked about this. There is no critting ability checks, so...
No.
Like, if there's...
technically, there's no... technically speaking, nat 1s aren't a thing at all.
No.
In any instance. Doesn't matter.
It's all optional.
Nat 1s are not... There is no such thing, technically, as a critical fail. There isn't. There just isn't. There never has been. Like, there isn't.
Not in 5e. In
not in 5e.
Pathfinder and other stuff, there are, but like in 5e, it's not.
But no, in 5e, there is no critical fail. Technically, there's no critical success either unless you are attacking. That is the only instance where a nat 20 comes into play. Nat 20s will always hit, and they will always deal, double dice or double damage, whatever. Yeah. But other than that, there's no such thing as critical anything. But, it is more fun that way, right? Yeah. We advocate for it. It's more fun to do critical successes and critical fails, and it can make the game more interesting and diverse. That's why we do it. But in this particular case, rolling a nat 1 is like, because again, stabilizing and any other thing, you either succeed at stabilizing or nothing happens. Nat 1, it's like, yeah, I could see maybe, you end up making the situation slightly worse. Maybe you press down too hard on them. Here's the thing. I would maybe rule it based off of what they are trying to do to stabilize them. What are you doing?
Yeah,
are you trying to are you trying to
wrap
them up? Like you're just like wrapping up like the wound and like some gauze or something? Are you trying to like staunch the bleeding? Are you like giving them like CPR? Like what are you doing? And if that's the case, I think that would be the determining factor on whether or not you're rolling a nat 1. Because it's like, in this instance, it does kind of suck where you're like, I'm trying to help them. Like I'm trying to save them. And then you're like, oh yeah, well, you rolled a nat 1 on the check. And it's like, well, but
not really how it works.
It might also depend too. Maybe if they were proficient in medicine, I wouldn't give them a nat 1, or I wouldn't give them a failed save for doing it, because they're proficient enough where it's like, I don't think that they would do it that bad. If they weren't proficient, maybe then I would be like, all right, he loses a death save because you roll a nat 1 on that. Because I also feel like that it punishes the player even more so, because again, even as the barbarian, he maybe could have spent time attacking the enemy. I don't know if this is still during the fight or not, but he could have maybe used his turn to keep doing that. But instead, he wanted to try and save his friend, and then to make him to inadvertently make him now the cause of his friend's death, like when he was trying to help him and gave up a turn to do so, like that. I don't know, that just.
There's so much
feel good at all. Like I can absolutely see like that. That just does not feel good in any way, shape, or form. Where it's just like, because in this thing you're not, But that being the case, unless you have anything else kind of thinking about this one, Sammy, we can go ahead and move on to the next one.
Sure. That's
problematic player overtaking campaign.
Yeah. This is a little bit of a long one and an unfortunate one that pisses me off, but it's unfortunate because I kind of see myself a little bit not even close, but like
little sparks.
There's something here, yeah.
Interesting.
I'll start by saying this is going to be very long. I just want to rant this out so bad and get this off my chest. I'm a new DM and I decided to play D&D 5e with my friends. 4 of them I know back in my uni days. Ooh, we have someone over the pond. And one of them brought a +1. To give context, in those 4 people, 3 of them were in the same friend circle as I am during uni, while the other one, let's call him Ben, isn't really my friend and has some creepy history. Needless to say, ever since the pandemic, we haven't really hung out that much, and during that time, they became closer to Ben. Most of the players are new to D&D except for Ben. I have to say, maybe he got more experience. He has more experience than me as a player. There's a couple of grammar mistakes that I'm gonna struggle through, so apologies in advance. At first, it was quite all right. We did session 0. I assisted 4 of them in creating their characters and going back and forth with them for their backstory. Ben didn't have to. He said he already had a character, so he'll just upload it. We use Roll20. After all the preparation, we got to play our very first session, and for most of the players, their first campaign. It was all good in the beginning. They were having fun exploring. I was having fun leaving trails for later plans along the way, but as time passes, session after session, I noticed Ben isn't really talking. When asked, he'll say that he's in a public area in their house, so he's quite shy to talk and act, so he opted to chat. The other players didn't mind it at all, so I continued with it as well. That for me is already bye-bye. I'm not dealing with that fucking bullshit. If you can't commit a space to play a game with people, you have a room somewhere. Go sit in it and talk.
We don't know for certain what his home life is like exactly. I mean, there are certain situations, as ridiculous as it is, to be like, you are not allowed to go into a room or close doors or whatever, and it's like, and then maybe if he starts to act, they get, his family gets pissed off and starts yelling at him to shut up or quiet down.
We never know. So you just go to the library.
You could go to the library. I mean,
because there are private rooms now and things.
I would say that is true. There are private rooms now in libraries that maybe he could be dedicated to that.
If it was really
it's definitely annoying to do text based.
It's weird. It's weird. To me, I don't know.
I'm not a huge fan of it either. I really don't like it. But sometimes, you got to do what you got to do, and I do understand that. We just don't know for certain what his situation is. But please continue.
However, it became an issue when we were discussing a matter of home/house rules, wherein I had discuss the help action since Ben brought it up, my posting it in our Discord server. In response, I told him I will implement it, but they would have to be creative about it, in which everyone agreed to. Little did I know, I wake up the next day with a Reddit post about my decision to ban it in the campaign. Weird already. And so I clarified in the server that I'm not banning it, but I just have some rules with it. My rule is that whenever they use the help action, they have to describe how exactly they are helping. I also gave an example since it'll be hard to help a wizard when you're a barbarian. And so a little description or visual would be nice, to which they said no. They don't want to do it since they're not too good at role playing and that they are not creative enough. Proceeding to say that the description should only be with a nat 20. I tried to tell him the logic behind my rule, and well, needless to say, he didn't want to. So
You
I
didn't
let
want to
them
take
have
no
it.
for an
Yeah, but
answer. Yeah.
it's still weirdly, I don't know. So I let them have it, but I did say that those who make an effort will be rewarded. I thought it would stop there, but it just continued. First, I thought he's being helpful, sending some resources, maps, and tokens. Then Ben became the rules lawyer. He constantly would post rules that I did not implement or will ever implement in any of my games. In game, he complained how I didn't test
Test.
encounters when it was a random one. He constantly would post stuff, new rules, homebrew, and other resources in our server during off sessions. He even clocks me with things that I implement because it isn't raw. It became apparent to me that he wanted to be a DM himself. So
Wow.
the
Clearly
problem
having
with
some
this,
control issues,
yeah,
which
and the weird thing is complaining about the DM not running things rules as written while posting homebrew and other random resources isn't
I mean that's
helpful.
what I'm saying. It's not even like
It's not even consistently. You're not
no,
even
well,
being
because what it
consistent.
is he just wants to be in control. He wants
Yeah.
the game to be exactly the way that he wants it. And that's why, I think it is very accurate for the OP to be like, it seemed quite apparent that he wanted to be a
Yeah.
DM himself, which is like, hey, I
Okay.
get it. Mhm.
Um, every preparation, every session since then just felt like a job to me. I didn't feel enjoyment.
Oh,
I didn't feel
man.
anything. I loathed it. I hated it. I loved the campaign, the lore, the world. Don't get me wrong, but I fucking hated it because I know at the end of the day, Ben will complain and do his shit. Until one day, Ben posted yet another solution with a message, so multi-attack wouldn't be a waste, quote,
Uh,
and it was my breaking point. I quit as a DM. I can't do it anymore. I felt like it was a job, like I was getting bossed around when it's my world. I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I told them I'm retiring one by one via DMs, and anyone is open to take over, and I can be a player instead. Ben scoffed at me at first, having the audacity to say that he's been feeling it and he's toning down his shit. Lie, he's still fucking posts, and that irks me. And as soon as I posted it in the server that I was quitting, looky, who said he'll be the DM? Ben. So I was like, of course. Now I want to see how Mr. I Can't Roleplay DM a role playing game. He immediately implemented homebrew races and classes. Once I asked him what would be the official homebrew materials we will be using, and he just sent a screenshot of what homebrew means. I was dumbfounded. I was gagged. I clarified though. I told him by official, I meant official in the game sense. Uh, there are instances that homebrew might be imbalanced, to which he replied, I don't have a problem with balance. I knew I wouldn't be playing from then on, but what nails it was that Ben posted on Reddit once more, crying about he loved his character and how I didn't bother to even close the campaign. He even acknowledged how he became a rules lawyer and dared to belittle my mistakes as a new DM, saying I'm terrible. So now his character ending is unknown, and then proceeded to say how he's excited to be the next GM. And I was done. I'm done, y'all. No one even bothered asking if I was alright, not a single person. He's crying about his character, the one he couldn't roleplay, the one he roleplays by himself when it's not
I
when the
mean, I was
sessions
gonna
aren't happening.
say, yeah, like,
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here spent, frustrated, burnt out, and scared to be a DM once more. My entire world's in the trash, the entire lore building off the window. I'm done. I feel bad for this person. And they did clarify, like, they felt bad about leaving and they do want to
I mean,
play as a
it's.
character in the future instead of DMing. But like what bugs me so much about this whole thing is the hypocrisy of the quote unquote being a rules lawyer without even really understanding
I
what
mean,
that
I just don't
is.
understand. Like, I don't know why he didn't. like talk to anybody else about this? Like did he talk to any of the other players about this and
No
how
idea.
they were feeling? Like how because again, that's like, why didn't you just kick Ben? Because if Ben is complaining so much about it, then it's like, okay, well, maybe he's just not right for this campaign. And it's like, hey, does anybody else feel this way? Like, I don't know why he's letting Ben, of all freaking people, affect him to such an extent that it literally destroyed his love and passion and interest in the game, which is it's one person. It's
I do there,
one annoying little
yeah, but there's
punk.
context. Like someone asked, you should have booted his ass to the curb and warned the fallout. He said, I really should have. I was just so scared since we are all in a friend circle, and for the lack of the better term, they are tighter with him than me. So like he didn't want to divide a friend group by kicking somebody. Which, you know what? Yeah, like I get that.
mean,
I really do. Like I understand that a lot. To be fair, like
sure. I mean, I get it, but I don't get letting him do that shit to you. And quite frankly, if he's saying no one even tried to check up on him or talk to him or anything, then it's like, yeah, I guess you aren't really close friends with them, I guess. And so it's probably is better maybe for you to leave. But I don't know why, like,
well, the
I mean,
reality is like there was a better way to handle this, obviously.
I know
It sounds
he
like,
acknowledges that as well as,
and
for sure.
it sounds like this person is young. If they're just out of uni, they're barely an adult.
I mean, if they're out of uni, they're probably at least what, 22
22?
at the very least, if not older
Yeah, but
than
like,
that. Like
okay,
they're not young. They're not
Yeah,
high
but
school or even
they're
like
old. They're younger
just
than
starting in college.
they're what, 5 years probably younger than we are.
Yeah, and,
That's young. I mean,
it's
when was
young.
the last 22-year-old you talked to and were like, yeah, you're well put together and understand what's going on? Because I'm not that now. Like, I don't know. I work with a lot of people in that age range, and a lot of them do not handle pressure, and I don't either.
mean,
Like, and I didn't at that
yeah,
time. Like,
especially in our generation, or I guess in the next generation too. It's like, again, we talk about this all the time here on the channel. Confrontation is hard for everybody, anybody really. Anybody who says it's not, they're freaking lying, or they're a dang socio/psychopath, most likely in some form. Like, it is difficult, but the point being too is like, the whole point of doing it is if it's worth it, right? If you were excited about this, if you believe that these other people were your friends, like, you didn't necessarily even have to have confrontation. Like, did you have a conversation with any of the others? You could have literally just been like, okay, hey, like, Ben is posting some stuff, or Ben is making, complaints.
That's the shit that.
How is everybody else feeling? Like, is everybody else also not like these things that I'm implementing? Or does anybody else feel like this is unfair? Like, what is the consensus? What is the group consensus? And again, once you are more clear about that, then you can make a decision. Because again, like, my biggest thing about this is that it didn't seem like he did anything.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything except try to cater to Ben, which is the worst thing to do, because he's just gonna keep doing it. And then he's like, well, he just ruined it for me. It's like, well,
yeah, I do love. There's a lot of.
What did you do about it? What did you try? Did you?
I don't think they really. I think they thought it was going to be fine, and it was too overblown by the time, and he didn't know how to stop it anymore.
I completely get it. Like, yeah,
it sounded like it started.
It ruins
fine.
the thing for you. Like,
it sounded like at the beginning it was literally just someone who was over eager and posting like resources and being helpful and
trying to be, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think as a DM, especially as a new DM, that's something that you can easily fall for and be like, oh, this is really awesome, and then all of a sudden it's out of control before you notice. There's a lot of like really good comments on this that I love. One of them, it just sounds pretty childish all around. Ben sounds like a sniveling man-child, but comrade, as a GM, you're going to get this. D&D attracts rules lawyers like moths to a flame. This will not be the last time you will have to deal with this kind of situation. If you believe, quote, it's my world, end quote, and everyone is just playing in your sandbox, you will lose it every time another kid starts messing with your sandcastles.
Yeah.
This is a collaborative hobby. You will have to learn to address situations like Ben, and not just for yourself, but also to protect your other players if rules lawyers are following your rules, but making the game no fun for others at the table. Next time, take Ben aside out of game. Try to address their concerns, but also stand your ground on behavior that you won't accept. And if you've done your best to address these kinds of problems, you've communicated to the individuals in the group as a whole about these issues, and you truly can't go on, then let the table know, thank them for their time, and exit with dignity. You've learned about what worked and what didn't work from this campaign, and you've learned that rule lawyer metagaming wannabe DMs will undermine you, consciously or not on their part. And if you want things to remain smooth, you need to deal with it as soon as possible. If you can move past this, you're already a better DM than many out there. And hey, not every group will have a Ben. You might go years without encountering a similar type, but it's bound to happen at some point, and you know better how to deal with it. Unfortunately, this got negative votes. I actually agree with this. Pretty
Yeah,
candidly.
no, I thought this was worded
and-
very well.
And
Like,
OP responded, I understand, I do, but that being said, I felt like having a friend at my table isn't the best thing for me now that I've experienced it. And no, I do not wholly believe that this is my campaign. I have told them through and through that they create the world as they step on it, and so I let them create some lore to some of the places in the map. Even the entire BBEG plot was based on their collaborative backstory, things I've connected and weaved along the way. But that ideology, the I created this world for y'all idea, is what made me hesitant to reprimand Ben as well. I was so set with players are always right that I forgot that I am a player too, and that's on me. Also, given the fact that I was being soft on them as they are my friends as well. And yes, I just want to have a last rant as a way of letting things go. It's just hard to see that someone who deliberately undermines me and the campaign had the audacity to spew words without even knowing my side, saying that he lost his character when I, in turn, lost everything I built for them and for their characters. I know my mistakes, and I know what to do to improve myself as a DM. I know not every table will have a Ben. It's just so shocking that I would have found a Ben in the table where my friends are. So I had to make a decision of leaving instead of breaking them apart. But yeah, like I said, I'm done. I respectfully told them how I felt in our server and officially retired my position as DM or anything else in their party. So he's not even playing with them anymore.
yeah, no.
I sent my sentiments to each of the players via DMs, and well, just saying goodbyes to their characters.
That's what I'm saying. He also hit the up arrow for that, so we can put it back to 0 for the dude. Because again,
Well, I'm not logged in.
that's fine. I put it as only as a -1 now at the moment, but it's like,
I mean, I could see why some people didn't like the way he said it, but he's not wrong.
well, I mean,
it's Reddit. Reddit is full of neck.
I don't even know why they didn't like you said, because he's being super supportive. He's literally like, yo,
He's like,
Conrad,
you're good, dude.
as a GM, you are going to get this. Like, you got this. It does this, and it's not the last time I have to deal with this. But, you know, if you believe that, like, he said it beautifully. And that's exactly the great way to put it, where it's just like,
Wow, beautiful.
beautiful. Mwah, mwah, beautiful. It's just like,
Yeah, it's not that weird.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's definitely, the OP literally says it, is he did like, the players are always right. Now,
which is wrong.
I love that he was so dedicated to his players. That's amazing. You absolutely should be, because it 100% is the GM's responsibility to make sure that the players are having fun. That's the point. That's literally their point. They are making a world and the story for their players to be able to enjoy. But it's also, he also acknowledged this, what I love, the GM is a player too. The GM is playing the game too. And they have to also like it, and they have to also enjoy it. And it's the player's job also to hopefully make sure that the GM is enjoying it. You know, give them opportunities to do some really cool stuff with your backstory, with your character, or with the story, with the world. Like, it is a literal, like, legitimate give and take. And the thing being is like, what's hilarious is he says this whole thing about like, well, I didn't want to do all this stuff because they're my friends and da-da-da-da. But it's like, well, are they though? Because you're saying that they didn't talk to you. You didn't talk to them. Like, how can you say that you're friends if you were scared or terrified to have even a conversation with any of them about what was happening?
I think we've talked about this before. There's the friends you play these games with, and there's the friends you don't. And you can still count them as friends. You can still treat them as friends. They just, your personalities or your idea of what these games are does not meld, even though in normal life you could be friends with such a person. Like, we've talked about, like, there's people that I have friends with that I would never touch these games with.
Nope, same. Honestly,
even ones that I've played with before that I do not want to play with again.
Yeah, I have that too, 100%. Where I'm like, I don't think this is the best activity for us to be engaging in together. No. But you know, but
it's unfortunate.
I wish I just knew more about what the other players' thoughts, feelings, perspective. Because again, he seemed like he's only highlighting Ben as being the only real issue or problem. And so what I don't understand is like, why he just straight up left entirely, and why he didn't talk with any, and why he's just like, well, I didn't want to break up the friend group. And it's like, well, but how would you break up the group? Like, if you're still friends with them, the others are still friends with each other. And if Ben is the issue, how would you have broken up the group?
Well, some people are immature, I guess. I don't know.
I don't
My
know.
reality is they were already super not receptive to some of the things he was trying to, like the help rule implement was, I think, a great take on the help
That's
rule.
how most people do it. Most
Yeah.
people are literally like, if you're gonna do the help action, like you have to
What
explain to me
would you help?
exactly how are you helping or how you're able to help. You don't necessarily even explain like exactly word for word like a scene all the
No,
time, but
like,
explain how are you able to assist them in this particular endeavor or activity
Yeah.
or whatever. You know,
and you always have to ask. It's never like, oh, I do the help.
because it's like,
nah, you have to ask me, and I'll let you know if it's possible.
well, it's like,
And that's how we run it. Like,
yeah, that, or it's like, because you can same thing of being like, I do the help at. He's like, well, he's doing an insight check. Like, how are you helping him do an insight check on this person? Like, you don't even necessarily know he's doing an insight check, so you can't really help him. Like, maybe you could maybe help with an insight check if you have like telepathic communication and you know that this person is trying to like read this person, and you're just like, okay, I can also maybe look a little bit and help you notice or recognize certain ticks or
there's other ways,
signs, like maybe, but that would take a lot. And it's like
certain actions can't be helped unless you are extremely creative or clever about what you're doing. And like, I think that using that as a baseline is not a bad way to run help at all.
I 100% agree. And
also,
again, that is how most of the games I've been a part of does it. Like,
you can't just help. You can't help with everything. A strength check, sure. Athletics check, sure. You're trying to push.
Trying to remember something, yeah, maybe.
Sure.
Trying to
perception. Like, it's not really a help action. You're just doing
looking
it too.
Around. Yeah,
you're also just doing it.
You're
so
looking
like,
around.
Now you both roll the roll.
Like, I mean, I think it's fine if you're both doing it. You can technically like maybe help him to just look better if you're both doing it anyway. So I that's fine because you could. I feel like again, it's literally like you can do the thing where you can either each individually roll or you can give one of you, because if everybody wants to do a perception check, it's like, okay, instead of doing like 5 separate perception checks for shit, we can basically be like, yo, 1 or 2 of you can roll. And then if one of you rolls, then you can have advantage on it or whatever, because you're all kind of looking around. Like there are multiple ways of handling it and addressing it. And I feel like it might be a case-by-case basis, to be fair. Because sometimes it makes sense for everybody to do it. Sometimes it makes sense maybe just the 1 or 2 to do it, or just to have an advantage. And it's like, okay,
the DM is the one who tells you if you get to even make the checks in the beginning. So maybe you should just defer to how they want to do it.
But you can't just get automatic advantage on everything because you want to help. Like, that's just not really how it works. But all right, let's go ahead.
I'm good off that.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. This one is titled DM restricts character options for no reason and runs a DM NPC and gets mad when no one likes the DMPC. Classic. By Red Hood 101101. Pretty sure that's binary. I think they're trying to speak in binary right there. Don't know what that means, if it even is binary, but I feel like I heard Bender from Futurama say that exact sequence of zeros and ones at one point. Anywho, this is a story I've had bouncing around in my head, excuse me, for a few years and have finally decided to share. It's not that bad compared to some of the other stories I've read here, but I still feel like sharing. Hey, that's what's up. That's what it's for. It doesn't have to be as bad. Just share what you need. For background context, I had been running a D&D campaign that crashed and burned, and one of my players invited me and another one of my players to a game they were going to run online for their family. This was my first time really being a player. I had been a DM for a few years, but only played once, where the DM insta-killed me with no save in the first hour because he didn't like my character. A story I shared on a different account. Wow, that we here at the Arcane Archive hate that. We hate that. We hate doing shit with no save, no attempts, no chances. A plague on that individual himself and themselves. Thank you. This was this person's first time as a GM. Oh boy. And they were planning to do Lost Mines, then Storm King's Thunder, and kept telling us they wanted to run the game as Skyrim-like. i.e., we explore the world and do random stuff endlessly. Okay. I mean, open sandbox can be a fun concept if you know how to do it. Already though, I'm feeling a bit of trepidation from this thing though. New GM, they're gonna run a game for their family and then invited online for their family and then invited some others to it. And first time, and they wanted to run it Skyrim like, which just I was pretty excited and already had a character concept I loved that involved a changeling. I told the GM my idea and was told no. Their reasoning was that because we were doing Lost Mine and the Storm King's Thunder, the DM wanted to protect the sanctity of the Forgotten Realms. It wasn't really my style at the time, but I decided to not fight them and made a new character. It's not your style to not fight? Okay. Interesting. And they're claiming what? Sanctity of the Forgotten Realms because there shouldn't be a changeling in them? But there are changelings in the Forgotten Realms. Just like there are doppelgangers in the Forgotten Realms. Like,
You're seeing why I picked this now. Yeah, it's not smart.
This is a newsflash, everybody. Actually, Sam was responsible for picking almost all.
I did all of it.
Indeed.
I read it and I put
gave him free reign to go. You know,
so sucks. Lampoon me.
I think so far it's been pretty great. I think at least I've been enjoying a lot of these.
Put me out in the alley. Give me a box to lay on. It's fine. Take me out back, old Yeller me.
We're not doing that. Stop. No. Oh God. Too many people sad. No, we don't. We're not gonna old yellow Sam. Sam's still. Hey, he's got new tricks. He's doing great. My second character was a druid that was raised by raccoons.
No, it's not.
It was fun. It was a what DN? Oh, it was
silly.
Fun and I see. Yeah, it was a bit over time, but it was fun and silly, but seemed fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I was not shot down, or then I was shot down again because raccoons don't exist in my version of Forgotten.
Yes. That was the line I read, and I went, "Yep, it's going to be in here."
Don't exist in my version. Oh, okay. Wait,
no, but look at the compromise.
Wait. We ended up sitting down on Discord for an hour or so, and eventually I was told I could have been raised by a mongoose and what my character's trait should be. Mongoose? He doesn't have raccoons, but he has mongooses.
He only has muskrats in his team.
So I'm going into this game with a character I don't really like and being told how I should act. Gave me a kind of bad taste in my mouth in the first session, but I kept, no shit! What do you mean? What do you mean you kept going? What? We started with 7 players, 2 quickly dropped, good for them, and 2 more were there intermittently, and as the game went on, there were less and less. Yeah, because there are clearly severe issues that are already like the sanctity, again, like I would have asked, like why?
This is the reaction I wanted.
Why? He says protects the sanctity of the Forgotten Realms. Why wouldn't you just ask him? Well, what's non-sanctimonious about a changeling in the Forgotten Realms? What?
But that's not important, Adam. You're missing.
No. But I think it is though. I feel like it is.
No. It's all good.
I think it could solve like a lot of the issues that we're seeing here.
Look at how great his raccoonless Forgotten Realms is.
Yeah. No raccoons at all.
The reason there are the reason there are no raccoons is because canonically all raccoons are changelings, and he doesn't have those either. So.
Gotcha.
Like in Pompoko, that wonderful Japanese movie.
Yeah, that or like there's Sly Cooper, from the video game series.
He's a changeling, obviously.
Yeah, he's clearly a changeling rogue. He's a changeling rogue. He turned into a raccoon person. All right. Okay. All right.
Very.
I won't go too into the mines part of the campaign because honestly, it was pretty good. There were a few parts where it was rocky, but it was all new DM stuff and players breaking the book stuff. The only part of mines that gave me pause was when my druid died to the dragon and it was time to make a new character. Okay. At the end of the session where I died, I was talking about how a wizard seemed cool and it was met with wizards are actually banned at my table, and I believe they should be removed from D&D entirely because they don't
I'm so glad you're reading this one.
Hang on.
Adam, they just don't fit. I just don't see.
Hang on a second.
They're just not like, I just don't need them in my table. I don't think they fit in D&D very well.
I think
They're just
I'm having a
poorly
brain aneurysm.
they're just poorly thought out, and like I don't really like the angle that wizards cut. Like I don't like where they get their magic from. Yeah, because like if you could just study to be a wizard, wouldn't everyone do it? You know, it doesn't look that hard.
Uh, so he lets Claire. Okay,
No, we just keep going. It's even better.
we'll keep going. So when he said this, it felt weird for so many reasons. You don't say. So I mentioned sorcerer, and we always have a charisma caster, so you can't be a sorcerer. He lets sorcerers in. This went on for a bit until I was eventually told that the only classes I was allowed to play was a cleric or a bard. Looking back, kind of ironic that bard was allowed.
Yep, another charisma caster.
I again made a cleric I didn't really like because I wanted to be a wizard, and we finished Lost Mines.
Mm-hmm.
Things really hit the fan when we started Storm King's Thunder. Storm King's Thunder is a whole other ballpark, bro. We ended one session saying that we planned to go to Neverwinter. So the DM had a whole week of prep time and the book. And when we got to Neverwinter, there was no plot, no encounters, no hooks, no anything. We spent a whole sessions wandering randomly looking for anything to do, but apparently the city had no crimes, no quests, no anything. This is fucking Neverwinter we're talking about. What is happening?
Keep going.
When we asked more about what we could do in the city, the DM spent 20 minutes reading the wiki page of Neverwinter word for word. I don't think I've ever been so bored in a D&D game before. Eventually, when the session started to come to an end, the DM got frustrated at us for not doing what the book wanted us to do and had an NPC finally just tell us where to go. After the game, the DM sent me a message saying that since we had no idea what we're supposed to be doing, that she wanted to make her own character to guide us. All the alarm bells went off at once. Thank God. And I started to give tones of warnings about DMPCs. For more context, I'm a DM that loves to use party NPCs in order to convey info and gently guide the party in directions I want them to go. But I would never call them my character or make them more competent than the party. The DM told me DMing is fun, but I miss being a player. Which was another red flag to me in context of the DMPC thing. The DM ended up ironing out or
ignoring.
That is a way messed up way of trying to spell ignoring my advice, and made a point, perhaps it's spell check is what's happening here, my advice, and made a point of saying so in the session, and showed up with a character almost twice the party's level that had all of our skills but better.
No, wait for it.
They also announced that instead of running Storm King's Thunder, they plan to run all of the books at the same time. So now we were playing a combo of Storm Kings, Rise of Giants, Tomb of Annihilation, Princes of the Apocalypse, and God knows what else. Second. Give me a second. Okay. All right. We're good. This translated to us spending entire sessions wandering aimlessly through the woods, fighting 3d12 bandits that each helps 1d6, or each had 1d6 gold that we killed in the first round because they had no way to survive a fireball. Each of these combats took 20 minutes to set up and resolve. We had 3 sessions of just random storyless bandit combat, while the DM's character, who she ran and kept referring to her as her character in her turn, spoon-fed the plot to us. The few times we did get quests, they were just copy and pasted from the book into the Roll20 chat, and we never actually talked to anyone. I kept thinking about leaving, but the only two other players I didn't want to be the reason the group died. Or I kept thinking about leaving, but with only two other players, I didn't want to be the. Why? Why
No,
wouldn't you want to be the reason the group died? This is a shitstorm in the making of a hurricane, volcano spewing, good planet cracker of a crappy campaign. Why wouldn't you take pride in being the reason why this campaign is finally put in the goddamn dirt where it belongs? This campaign is literally like one of those horribly like experimented on, mutated like criminals. Not even criminals. They were volunteers who thought they were doing something good. They're veteran soldiers who thought they were doing something good for their country. And they were experimented on and created and mutated like freaking Resident Evil and are begging for death, just begging to be put out of their misery. That's what this campaign is right here. And you're telling me the OP wouldn't have taken pride, the pride of his ancestors, to be the one who put a bullet through this campaign's noggin. Are you kidding me right now?
it just gets better though.
The DM eventually got a new job and blamed us for her being too busy to run D&D. It's probably for the best the game went out on a whimper. I ended up recruiting one of the players into a game I'm running now, and he's also a player in a very fun campaign a friend of mine is running. So in the end, it all worked out. But it was such a draining experience. Less of a horror story and more like D&D via the DMV. And one more character note. The other players were a time-traveling, multiverse-hopping samurai from the real world and a goblin with a unicorn in the family tree that got magical powers from a GIF rock they found while in college researching magical talking fish. But a raccoon man wasn't allowed. Okay, that made me mad when I found out about that. In post.
I love this. When we got to Neverwinter, there was no plot, no encounters, no hooks. We spent whole sessions randomly wandering around looking for anything to do, but apparently the city had no crime, no police, or anything. In this case, my character realizes how nice Neverwinter is, retires from the dangerous life of adventuring, and settles down in Neverwinter. The end. A great game. I'm out.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, it's just people. I was all excited for a story that involved the DMPC being annoying or weird, and then I never got the DMPC story at all. And instead, I just got the DM being too strict. Where's the DMPC story I was promised?
I feel like the DMPC aspect is a bit false advertisement because they didn't say
Well, no, that
anything
was
about
like
the DMPC at all.
final.
Well, no, because again, it's a DMPC, but then we don't even get anything about what the DMPC does. Just simply the fact that DMPC basically can do everything that their characters can do, but better. But we didn't get any actual like examples of any of that happening. Is she literally just like, then it goes around to our DMNPC character who she keeps referring to her, and then da-da-da-da. But nothing actually happens with the DMNPC that's actually bad. And they didn't even say that they disliked her at all, which is like,
I do love that. But in my experience, druid raised by X animal is always a pure joke character, which doesn't work for every table. While this can be true, rejecting raised by raccoons to then offer raised by a mongoose instead is a lot of fuss over nothing and a good way to burn a lot of player goodwill for little.
I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, man. If any nigga literally is gonna look at me during a game and basically be like, yeah, no, you can't play like a turtle, but like, you know, we got lizards. You know, you could be a lizard if you want. Maybe not even a lizard. Like what would be a decent equivalent where you're just like, oh hey, yeah, you can't play a mouse, but you can play a rat. There are no mice in my game, but there are rats. There are a lot of rats, but no mice.
It's just so like fucking dumb.
What the ever living hell are you talking about? Like, there are rats, but no mice. I can't be a mouse man, but you let me be a rat man.
Yeah, he let me put my character in a room, a rubber room.
And not just that, you'll apparently
a rubber room full of rats.
You'll literally will allow a goblin who apparently has an ancestor, freaking fly, that is a unicorn that got magical powers from a GIF rock
Who did the unicorn fuck is all I want to know.
they found while in college researching magical talk. What is even that last part? What?
Hey, no, but Adam, but like, who did he fuck though? Who did the unicorn fuck? Because was it a goblin?
Probably some. I don't know, bro. Technically
But
speaking, I guess
if you want
if we're going by like unicorn lore, like unicorns only let virgins ride them, virgin women ride them.
But who did he fuck though? That's what I want to know. I'd like to know.
I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. I don't want to have any, because unicorns, while they are very intelligent, I don't know if they're technically considered sentient. Are they? Okay.
Yeah, because they like talk and have opinions and like.
Oh, do they? I wasn't sure if they were or not.
I believe some of them are. I don't know if all of them are across the board.
Fair.
But if you're a magical unicorn that got their powers from a GIF rock, you'd probably be.
What is a GIF rock? What is a GIF?
GIF like the hippo people.
Oh, okay.
Maybe? Or they meant GIF.
I don't think so. I don't think it was the hippo people.
Githyanki or Githzari.
I don't think it was Githyanki or Githzerai. I'm pretty sure.
What are the other options here? Because there's either hippo people or
I don't think it's any of those. I don't know if this person even knows about GIF and Githyanki.
Everybody knows about my favorite GIF.
Oh, do they? Do everyone knows about the hippo people? Do they?
I love the. Okay,
yeah.
First of all, come on. If you look them up on D&D Beyond, the first one is the Legacy Monster. It's a dude smoking a pipe, but he's wearing a monocle.
They use Roll20. They don't use D&D Beyond. They use Roll20.
I know that, but like, come on, dude. Is this not the greatest thing you've ever seen? He's
what the hell? How does a GIF rock give you magical power? GIF use. They're technological. They're gun wielders. They're not magically inclined like that necessarily. What is happening? Okay, please.
Can I send you an image? Is that a thing I can do?
Yes. Yeah.
No, that's a whiteboard. I don't want that.
Yeah.
No. Incorrect.
I mean, you can post it in the chat. Like, just post the link or whatever in the chat or whatever.
No. I mean, like, you can't tell me this isn't like the coolest dude. Where is it?
Good Lord, dude. I can't even with this. I can't.
I mean, just like, look at that dude. That dude's cool as fuck.
Yeah, he's badass.
I'd want to study their cool rocks.
But they don't have magical rocks, damn it. They have guns. They're gun wielders. They're arms dealers.
Come on, hold up. They're from like a weird place though, remember? Because they're from
they're from the astral sea. They fly through the astral sea in space on spaceships, but they're not like God.
They're from like a weird place though.
I mean, everybody in freaking Planescape is from a weird freaking place. Like, wait, is it Planescape that I'm thinking of, or is it Spelljammer? Everybody in Spelljammer is from a weird freaking place. Okay, let's move on, please.
Because they don't even know where their homeworld is.
Sam, let's move on. Let's move on, please. I need my brain. My brain is literally having stroke after stroke from this. Oh,
my next character is going to be a GIF. DM kicks me.
GIFs are great. I love GIFs.
Yeah, DM kicks me on the way out.
Loxodon, GIF, Leonin.
Just everybody plays.
We're getting furries. We're doing a furry campaign, bro. I call Loxodon.
Someone has to be a Dragonborn.
I mean, Dragonborn might be a bit like.
No, I want scaly representation.
It's lizard. It has to be lizard. It has to be an actual animal in like the real world. Lizard.
Only if they look like an axolotl, because that'd be funny. They're like
a quetzalcoatl.
No, axolotl. The little funny salamanders.
Yeah.
Oh, and you have turtles. Okay.
And turtles.
This was a while ago. DM kicks me on the way out. This was a while ago during COVID, but someone reminded me of it recently. It was an online game I joined partway through as some of the players were dropping out. We had players from 3 different countries and 5 different time zones. Which was a big reason the revolving door of players happened.
No shit.
But it wasn't the only one. The DM and the cleric were dating, which let the cleric exist as both a co-DM and player.
Okay. This isn't necessarily always. It isn't always a representation. I've done it. I've played with a partner before, and I've been able to detach from that. So it's like,
that's 100% true. This led to an unpleasant dynamic where the cleric would get priority in any roleplay, which made the game feel a bit follow the leader and railroady. On top of that, Most of the out-of-game communication was too stressful for the DM herself, so the cleric would step in and mediate. She didn't care about what happened between players, though, so I often ended up settling things on the side of the screen, on that side of the screen. I like that. You went, they're not going to deal with this, so I'm going to take it into my own hands and communicate with the other people directly.
I mean,
Because it's an
I
adult
respect the
thing
hell
to
out
do.
of that. Like, thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
awesome. OP, yeah.
Thank
And
you.
then immediately, a big issue was sleep. The campaign was at odd hours for everyone, with most players starting the game immediately after waking up or coming home from work. This led to a lot of people being late, which upset the DM. She felt her time wasn't respected, even though she was often late herself for the same reasons. Instead of communicating this, the DM and cleric surprised us with a new rule. If any player was late, they'd have to roll on a table. Whatever they rolled would happen to their character at some point during the session. The DM, however, would receive no penalty for being late, and none of us were allowed to know what was on the table, except the cleric, of course. We only knew that it ranged from inconvenient to, quote, some more serious things, end quote. I had a major problem with this, as my only boundary when agreeing to the game was to not be punished in character for out of character issues. I private messaged the DM, reminding her of the boundary and that I'd be all right with the rule if it worked both ways and everyone knew it was on the table. She shut down and the cleric came in, brushing me off completely. I went to the public chat about it and got the rule dropped once the other players understood what was happening. Things started changing after that. From then on, I got almost no roleplay opportunities. I'm pretty sure the DM had me muted for at least parts of the sessions as well. My questions got ignored, and suddenly my character was targeted more in combat. After a couple more weeks, I asked about leaving the game on amicable terms, as it clearly wasn't working. Both the cleric and the DM immediately accepted. We planned a good exit where my character found his way back to some good family. The other player characters threw a goodbye party for him. During a bout of drunken magical sparring, the DM became so enraged she left the table without saying anything. The cleric promptly blamed me and we ended the session. Both the cleric and the DM blew up at me later when I tried to ask them what I did to upset her. The DM claimed I was the worst player in her history of DMing, and that I actively ruined the campaign for everyone on purpose because I wouldn't be around for the consequences. She went on to say that everyone thought I was rude and uncooperative from the beginning, and that me leaving hadn't come soon enough for them. I woke up the next morning having been kicked from the server. The reason given was that the cleric and DM assumed I would sabotage the party loot list my character had been in charge of as some kind of retaliation, and they didn't have the energy to worry about or suffer me further. When I apologized to the other players, they were confused, and there was a collective, huh? About the loot list accusation, as it was all done transparently in public chat. They told me I had been great to play with, and that the DM and cleric had told everyone I left on my own accord, and that my character had been murdered off screen in his sleep at the beginning of the next session. I also found out that there had been no rules against what I'd done. The other players, aside from the cleric, had thought it was funny, and everyone was confused as to why it had upset the DM so much. I was informed a while later that the campaign had fallen apart not long after.
Wow. TLDR, DM and her co-DM slash PC girlfriend crossed a boundary, pushed me out, and convinced me that I was hated by everyone. I wasn't.
I love this. Normalize shaming bad DMs. Is everyone in high school? This sounds like a bunch of dramatic teens. Okay, here, this is crazy to me.
I wouldn't say everyone. I think it's literally just the DM and the cleric.
This is kind of wild to me. So OP responded. Both the DM and the cleric were in their mid-30s, I believe. The ages ranged from the fighter being in his 40s or 50s to our druid being 19.
Wow.
The fighter and druid were the only ones who managed to stay out of the drama the entire time, despite the druid being the only other player directly involved in the magic fight that pissed the DM off. Our barbarian was in his 40s. Everyone else, 2 wizards, a monk, and a rogue, were somewhere in their 20s. What is the age range on this campaign?
Everywhere. It's literally everywhere. Because cleric and DM 30s.
Cleric, fighter, druid, barbarian, 2 wizards, monk, rogue, and you. There were 10 people at this table? No, not all at once. Oh my god. The barbarian was convinced to leave shortly after I joined due to repeated conflicts with the cleric.
There you go.
Replaced by the monk. Our first wizard died in the next couple of sessions. He couldn't be revived and was replaced by the second wizard. I was the rogue and also replacing someone who had left before me. Like I said, revolving door of players. Holy shit.
I mean, okay. So, not always, but I do feel like it's a decent rule of thumb to basically be like, hey, how many people have you had in this campaign that ended up having to leave? Like, again, To be fair, OP does preface this right at the top saying all the different time zones and shit are a problem. That's fair and probably a big thing. But I'm also starting to think that perhaps it wasn't just the freaking time zones that were the freaking biggest issue. Oh my God. This type of shit right here, bro. This wine, like, I'm sorry. The moment you start behaving or trying to tell me that a GM is incapable of conveying or communicating with their group because it's too much or too difficult, and so she has to have a literal liaison do it for her, which is one of the other players.
I hate both of these types of people so much with every fiber of my being. The fact that you need someone to mediate your problems for you because you're too much of a pussy to talk to other human beings.
They're not even mediating. They are literally just conveying the GM's like discontent or distress to get freaking pity points and empathy or sympathy. And you're like,
it sounds like this person like shuts down anytime someone tries to talk to them too, because that was another thing that happened when he tried to
literally. Well, again, confrontation. Any kind of confrontation
came in. Like what?
Any kind of confrontation, and you're like, you are a GM. Confrontation is literally part of the description of that position. Oh my God, you have got to be kidding me. People like this. People see the reason she plays D&D clearly is because they want to have some measure of control over their lives that they don't have to make themselves feel better. Like this whole thing, she just wanted to be a dick to OP. They wanted, the cleric and the GM, they wanted to create their own perfect little paradise, but they don't want to do it with just themselves. They want other people to experience and witness it and bask in it, you know, to see how amazing and shit that they are or whatever the hell. But it's like,
so dumb.
Like you literally, again,
it's so dumb.
When you literally, on top of the fact, you literally want to start imposing a time restricted penalty on people. Now, here's the thing. It might be one thing where it's like, you shouldn't, first of all, I mean, that is just never the best idea to try and put like in-game repercussions for certain things like that, where it's like, here, if a person is consistently running late, constantly, and, you know, they don't have the legitimate reason that the time zone difference is like 12 hours ahead or behind or whatever, then yeah, okay. Maybe you can start imposing maybe some penalties or basically talking to them like, hey, so you're late pretty consistently, my dude. Like, it's a little bit difficult and hard to kind of run the game, not really knowing exactly when you'll show up or if you're going to be late most of the time. And you know, so it's like, are you, you know, how do we fix this? And if they're not really responsive, you're like, well, maybe, you know, maybe that might be best for you to switch to another campaign, or maybe you're just not currently able to play at present in your life, you know? But this, where you're just like, hey guys, we're all in separate time zones. I'm also late much of the time, like almost all the time, apparently. But you guys are all going to start getting a penalty now that for anybody who's late, you're going to roll on a table and something random and bad is going to happen to you if you're late. So don't do that. And you're like, what are you hoping to accomplish with that? You think that's going to make people stop being late? Think it's going to make people stop working their jobs and sleeping, you know, a healthy amount for their health? Boy, you got me effed up, sweetie. What the hell is that? What? Like, you just, like, holy guacamole, my friends. Good jeebus creepers. Wowie, wow, wow, wowzers. Yow. Dude, yeah. That is just crazy. And you know what? The OP, like I said, I feel like there were a ton of red flags. Again, the moment a GM is like, stop, I can't, please. And then somebody else is gonna step in, like, literally, like the vizier, like the evil vizier to a king that they're puppeting is going to be like, I'm sorry, but our liege is not able to communicate with you, and so I will be communicating their feelings. What was that? Oh, Yes, of course. They feel like you all are being a bunch of punk-ass pusses right now who are not respecting her time and effort. What's that? Yes, of course. I will confer that to them. She also feels that you all are not venerating, praising, and lauding her accomplishments enough either. And she would very much appreciate that if you could increase the amount of praise you could lavish her with. That would be great. Thank you, everyone. You are dismissed now. Leave. Thank you so much. And it's like people who try to use D&D as a way of, again, really effed up fantasy fulfillment, because we all do it for a certain fantasy fulfillment, right? That's what it's about, that immersion. It's about, being able to break off, right? And to have some wish fulfillment. That's okay, It's all right to be able to have a bit of not disconnect, excuse me. What's the term that we use, Sammy? When you are fantasizing, you want to go off into kind of your own world, like to have that. I'm blanking on the word at the moment.
Oh, like where it's just you, it's your own thing.
Not even just your own thing, but like when you play a game, when you're trying to escapism. It is okay, as we have said multiple times on this channel. It is okay to have a healthy amount of escapism for things like this. That's okay. That's part of the point of this game. Just to escape for a little while from some of the other difficult, hard, frustrating, aspects of real life that, you don't really have any real control over. And this is a thing where you can do that. You can experience certain stuff and make these memories with yourself and these people you're playing with that, excuse me, that, hopefully will last your entire life, all of your lives. Like that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
But there is a fine line between, again, a healthy amount of escapism and going off the absolute freaking deep end and having no understanding or concept of like what the hell is happening, or have no understanding or concept of the fact that you're there as a collaborative effort. You're there to help each other have a great time, not just to simply debase yourself and wallow and just drown yourself in your own personal shit. Then also, not even yourself, drown every person at that table in your personal shit and stuff, and then expect them to be thankful for the opportunity to experience the majesty that is your bullshit. Like, I hate people like this. I hate. And it's such a thing too, where just like you have this couple, you have a couple where they're just like, oh well, they're not feeling well, and I'm the mouthpiece, and they're running off. You have these incredibly just selfish, narcissistic, exaggerating individuals who are just like always on like 10 with their emotional reactions to shit. Where you're just like, bro, what are you doing? Like, let's have a conversation. Why can't we just have a conversation? Why do you shut down? I'm not even confronting you. This isn't even a real confrontation. It's a literal conversation. And you can't even do that? You can't even handle that much? I can't even, bro, with that. That shit just, I don't know. What do you think, Sammy? Like,
no, I mean, this is all stuff that we've done all this before, and it's so sad. Because it's like there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just people suck and they can't deal with just being normal.
Slightly different. Well, anything slightly different from their own perfect little, bubble. Oh, goodness gracious. It's sad to see, y'all. It is a sad, pitiful thing to see. But you know what? think with that,
I think that'll be all of it, yeah.
we've covered just about everything we have for you guys today. So thank you all. If you've stuck with us this long, so much for riding with us to this point, man. It has been a hell of a journey, and we hope that you, if nothing else, got a bit of an educational experience, maybe enjoyed a couple of things here or there for whatever reasons, please do again. Leave in the comments down below some of your thoughts on these stories that we've read today. We'd love to hear them. If you have any other suggestions for some other stories that you'd maybe like us to read, again, feel free to do that as well. We appreciate it. Thank you guys once more, as always, for coming in to see us, and we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I need to get off here and kill this fly that's buzzing around real quick, and Sammy also has some important stuff to get to. So we will see you guys next time when we dive down back into the archive. Thanks, everybody.